Donald J. Trump, who of course has an unbreakable bond with Vladimir Putin, and is looking to accommodate him in ways that are remarkable. Remarkable. I mean, take your glasnost. I mean, take perestroika, whatever openness, whatever desire to find common ground with the Russian Empire, with the Soviet Union, with Russia itself. But Vladimir Putin is it's a master stroke. What Russian state security has done in forging their relationship with Donald J. Trump, which is the most favorable way you can refer to it. But the real numbers, what matters the most to people that we should care about the most, the beautiful Ukrainian people. I'm not minimizing the impact on the Persian folks that are being killed in their homes right now, and I understand that the Ayatollah framework, the Ayatollah, the son of the original, the whole organization is bad, as we talked about yesterday. You stand on a platform that features on the first or second line, death to America, death to Israel. Not good. Agreed. But I just, for perhaps my own selfish purposes, I connect in a meaningful way with the Ukrainians because it seems like we've been with them through this whole fight. I mean, this goes back to when Putin took Crimea, and another president failed to manage that in the best possible way. But we move on, and again, well played, sir, Mr. Putin. You did your setup in New York. You got your one election win. You got an unexpected loss in 2000, and you're back in business. So play on, sir. But let's just think about every brave effort that the Ukrainian people have made, and the innovation as far as the indigenous drone manufacturing, and then figuring out creative ways to implement countermeasures against the increasing Russian drone threat. That's the world now. That's our future, this drone warfare. And we've talked about the statistics that, depending on who's doing the math, that over 85% of the battlefield casualties in this conflict in the last 24 months, over 80 to 85%, are from drones. It's not guys and gals, as we've learned about our proud Ukrainian combatants. They're not humans in trenches firing at other humans in trenches, or however, mortars and tanks and the all of the what you think of as the old school. It's a very different battlefield, and it will continue to evolve with AI and more visibility from more sophisticated satellites and drones, and ones that fly higher and linger longer and provide higher resolution images. And you don't need to be a tech genius, and I certainly don't profess to be. I'm a student as you are. I focus a lot on this area and have done so for 40 plus years. So it's as the kids say in the technical terms, it's my jam. Yeah. So what I back of the envelope math. Now, sanctions, when it comes to our friend Vladimir Putin, are an impediment. He's been, it's kind of like you tell a guy, you shut a guy down in a bar. You shut him off because he's being belligerent. You throw him out, or you've been thrown out. It's like, I've been thrown out by better than you. And hopefully you turn around and go home. Or you turn around and you take a swing, and then you go whatever you prefer, however you govern yourself accordingly. But sanctioning Vladimir Putin doesn't mean he has no income. Sanctions to Vladimir Putin are a puzzle to be solved. They're a game. They're a Sudoku. They're whatever. They're a chess game. Not even that complicated, because he barrels through them, and much like DJT, and this is not a coincidence, because so much of the playbook. I talk frequently about Project 2025, and that provides almost a religious philosophy on how to fracture the U.S. government infrastructure in a way to create chaos and then take advantage of that chaos, right? And that was Project 2025, and then we saw what the Doge bags did with their cuts, and made you take away all of the supervision in the U.S. Government, all of the judge advocates general, and all of the each of the agencies that are now a fraction of what they were originally have an internal investigative mechanism. And that's been diminished in every case, and the Department of Defense is diminished because of the anti-DEI fire, meaning our soldiers and sailors are in worse shape. They are worse. They are less suited to face the challenges that face them. Less suited to engage with the challenges before them, because hundreds and hundreds of years of experience have been thrown out the door, because that experience is embodied in a black or brown man or woman, or women of any color, because they have been eliminated in large numbers in the Department of Defense for no other reason than the fact that they are women, or they are men or women of color, and they have been culled. That was, and Pete Hegseth makes excuses, gets angry at the press, does his little dance, and his goes down his list of indignities and grievances about why he's being mistreated. He further kneecaps the press and the ability of the press to cover the Pentagon, and that will continue until he's gone. Now, he's not the next to, probably not the next to go. Kristi Noem, that was predictable. I would even argue she could have lasted longer. The thing that really cost her job was, the fact that she spent close to $125 million of your money to fluff herself, her agency, but herself, almost exclusively. If she had spent the same money and fluffed Trump and told Trump that she was doing this to make him look better, she might still be sitting there banging her boy toy Corey on her desk tonight. That could still be happening, which is with all the reconstructive surgery, it's just a disgusting thought that level of intimacy with a robot would be in any way pleasurable. But that's just I'm a naturalist, so I guess that probably wouldn't appeal as much to me. The next guy to go has to be JFK, RFK Jr. Right? I just said JFK because there's been a miniseries of JFK Jr. and his wife on maybe it was on Netflix or something, because my much better half, she has been dipping in on that, and because of the series, and we've seen a lot of images in the news of Miss Bissett, was it? His wife, and JFK, just a different time. They're just they're kicking it in Tribeca, walking up and down the street, besieged by paparazzi, which is horrible. When you think about the paparazzi they dealt with, and it makes you think of maybe Princess Di as well. That it was just a horrible time for that era of media coverage. It was miserable, but that's part of being one of the 5 most recognizable faces on the planet. It happens, and photographers need to eat too, and that's a thing. But yeah, so that was just it was a nice reminder of simpler times, or what seemed like simpler times, but just how you know I'm as some people what is the expression is no Bruno, right? I'm I look upon the double X variety of humans more favorably, as far as what beautiful and sexy is. That's just me. I am more of a gal's guy. That's just how I'm programmed. But you look at JFK Jr. and you're like, that's not even fair. I mean, that is a handsome MF right there, and what a sad story. But yeah. So I digress. That's that's not Oscars. It could be some of the most elegant people in the universe, but the raw numbers on our friend Voda, Vladimir Putin, Voda to his friends. The sanctions worked a little bit over time, and of course, it took a chunk. It made him have to do, more evasive tactics to deliver petroleum products and gas, LNG, with the world and satellites watching him. But he, Putin's like, you wanna come at me? I've been banging up punks like you for many decades. I'm properly trained and better with my hands than you are. So come at me. I'm Vladimir fucking Putin. So yeah, he's not deeply disturbed by countries' efforts to sanction them. And of course, now he gets the first laugh and the last laugh and everyone in between, because Donald J. Trump, right, his asset, has given him a free pass. What does that mean on a daily basis? It's, everybody's very focused on the oil portion of the project, because I think maybe older guys like myself you think back to the 70s and the gas lines and all of the things, and uh, that was an oil, that was a petroleum converted to gasoline problem. That was how we that's how we experienced it. But of course, we've learned over the many decades that LNG, we have more sophisticated methods of extracting and transporting LNG, and it's the extraction process is not particularly clean as far as the environment goes. They will tell you otherwise, but it's whether you're in that if you're wearing your pro fracking, you live in places where fracking has meant a lot of income, in parts of Pennsylvania. It's not all in Texas. Not all bad things that have to do with oil and gas happen in Texas. They happen all around the world. Look at the exploitation they've been doing in Alaska over the years. But it happens. There is fracking activity in in Pennsylvania and other places, and it's meant a lot for those economies. Not good for our long-term ecological health, but we're not solving that problem tonight. Putin, net increase on a daily basis is probably 40% with the waiving of the sanctions. It kind of probably nets out across both the oil and the gas. But if you just want to think about keeping it simple on a daily basis, you're like, wow, Putin has the ability, and I say Putin, I know it's Russia, and he receives revenue from energy resources and has to run a country. But in Russia, it's a different system, obviously, and he's taxing oligarchs, and he has, Putin. People are like, oh well, you're choking Putin off because you're sanctioning. Putin's money has nothing to do with the way that Russia runs on a daily basis. Putin said, as I've argued, and come at me with numbers, but I'm going to go just in worldwide. I'll say Elon 1, Putin 2, right? And I'm sure that there's some brilliant and enterprising investigator that can, in some advanced AI way, get access to crypto assets. Wherever Putin, he was advised by Jeffrey Epstein 20 plus years ago, because Epstein was thought of as a very clever money mover, as opposed, he's a quote unquote investment advisor. He obviously was involved in trafficking underage females, which is what made Donald Trump fall in love with him. But he was also thought of, with no, yeah, he worked for Bear Stearns. Yeah, he was a teacher at one of the most prestigious boys' schools. Is it Browning, whichever, in Manhattan, one of the most expensive and prestigious boys' schools in Manhattan, but with basically no credentials. He wore a Harvard sweatshirt, but he wasn't a Harvard grad. They did appoint him, as we talked about before, Larry Summers and a couple other professors conspired to make him a visiting fellow, Jeffrey Epstein at Harvard, which is it's repulsive, and they're working through the regret. They got rid of Larry, and they're still cleaning house, but they've got other shit to worry about because they have the president of the United States constantly assaulting them in this assault on knowledge, which we'll do. Maybe I was going to do that today, but that kind of got knocked out when I saw the figures with our boy Putin. Because, and then, I'm sorry, so 2x what he's benefiting from the turnaround on the sanctions with the oil, he gets 2x the benefit in the LNG. Now, his aspirations to expand and modernize his extraction capabilities in LNG, he's not there yet. He can't, for instance, Qatar, which is the world's leading exporter of LNG at about, I think it's about 22%, maybe. And they're out of business right now because of the Strait of Hormuz. Can Vladimir Putin all of a sudden turn around, flick a switch, and increase production to a degree where he can compensate for that deficit? No, he can't do all of that himself. But having a kind of a sky's the limit opportunity is he can sell everything he can get to market. So it's estimated that for the period of time that Hormuz is closed, that he will essentially, the easy math is that he will be able to $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day. Right? So call it 350 and 650 oil and LNG. He has that. There's the open runway to sell as much as he wants. Now people are going to say, well, we're the U.S. Senate. We're taking a principled stand, and we don't see Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, is not pleased, and he's right, because it all leads in. A stronger Putin means more Ukrainian casualties. It allows Putin to restock his war chest, and even if sanctions, they need the oil on the market, so they say, okay, Putin, get the oil out, but we're not giving you the money. We're going to, safeguard, we're going to sanction, we're going to lockbox and all of this. Those, can I say fuck you in Russian? If I think about it a little bit, I can come up with some nice words. I'm a little bit rusty. What can he do? He can turn around much of his oil, because we were talking about earlier that the U.S. capped the 85 to 90% of the Venezuelan oil was going to China. It was going there different ways. It was going some of it via Cuba, the balance going through Malaysia, changing flags, and trying to evade sanctions that way. But we obviously, we were down there, FAFO in Venezuela, spent a lot of money, captured a president, and that's a story that's still playing out. And now one of the other major sources for China to get oil was Iran, and now we're there. So Xi Jinping is supposed to have a visit with Trump later this month. So what does that mean to those gentlemen and their conversations? Is Xi Jinping just going to say, hey, it's only oil. It's only my country's economy. It's only my citizens' livelihood and air travel and automobile, all of the things, and fertilizer and the 9 million other things, meaning everything in the world, that petroleum products and energy otherwise go in as a component part. No, that's not what he's going to say. But is he biding his time and making a calculated risk that whatever we're doing in the FAFO Persian version, kind of rhymes, is giving him the time he needs to do his own decapitation in Taiwan? Will he postpone the U.S. meeting and do something? Or will he wait until he has a few more sympathetic generals in place? Because there have been generals disappearing in China at an alarming rate, and it's been ongoing. It wasn't just a one-time purge. Xi Jinping and the Chinese mentality, the philosophy, the management style, the philosophy is patience and longer term view, right? And the U.S. is quite the opposite. It's like, people that are Trump apologists are always saying the same silly words I say when I'm trying to do a bad caricature of, Trump's a businessman. He has to be fast moving. He has to make fast decisions, and you have to move fast and break things, and that's the only way you get anything done. No, that's an approach. If it weren't Donald Trump, I'd say it was a strategy. But China, as we've talked about before, China looks at things in decades at a time. What is Donald Trump's 50-year plan for the United States economy in light of the advances of AI? Yeah, right. You should be reading every day, if you still read a paper. I wish I could. I miss reading newspapers. I don't think I've read one for a decade, just because the eyes don't allow me to do that. Now you can blow it up on tablets and television screens. You can also, of course, have it read to you by kind digital voices these days. So it's a great time to have some mild visual and some substantial visual impairment, because you have all of the tech tools that help you get over that, right? But so what is, think about the fly on the wall thing. What is it going to be like if the two men get together? What are the grievances that are stacking up on both sides? This is a world that's run by a bunch of old guys. It's, ever thus, as the kids would say. But a lot of those old guys are men with bad intentions. I don't have the pleasure of knowing Xi Jinping, and he's got a big job and he has a big country. I don't know Mr. Modi. Just what I hear from friends and associates. But as I was my little weekend fever dream that comes out in Substack notes and messages, is I'll loop back through the ICC and return to the U.S. and we'll celebrate Putin for his bulging bank account once more, knowing that until otherwise directed, he's going to be putting that extra billion to work, and that's drones. If Iran seems a little bit busy right now, if they can't supply the drones, he has a friend in Beijing that can help him out. So he has the access to those things. The Ukrainians are under siege. Their funding is they're getting some help from their European neighbors and others. Spring offensive, what Putin was talking about was, I think, from what I've read, was a shit show for the Russians. And so Ukraine, against all odds, continues to battle back, and they're taking out energy infrastructure in Russia every single day, but they've got less bodies. Ukraine has less men and women, and they aren't inclined to throw them into the meat grinder the way that Putin is. Putin will throw Russians into the meat grinder, will throw North Koreans into the meat grinder, will throw Ethiopians, Nigerians, and people from various other African countries into the meat grinder just to keep it going. But it's starting to get warm again, so the ground is not frozen everywhere any longer. It's starting to, it's only March, and it's 30 degrees right now as I'm talking to you, so it's not balmy. But my temperature range and gradient is not dissimilar to Ukraine. They have some colder nights, and they've had some of the coldest winter weather that they've had in years, and ours has been pretty bad too. But they fight on because they're amazing and brave and inspiring and worthy of our support, even as Donald Trump is attached to the leader of Ukraine's opposition, which is just reprehensible. But I bounce back to the ICC. I always keep that running in the back of my brain as Trump v. U.S. said that executive power is almost absolute, the pardon power, that Trump can't be held accountable. I mean, there are things he can be held accountable for. There are crimes. But in general terms, what Chief Justice John Roberts gave him was the Platinum Hall Pass, right? And so we need to do some work on that after he's gone. We need to do some work on pardon power after he's gone. But Pam Bondi, your U.S. Attorney General, did a neat little trick this past week, too. If you think about the Supreme Court and the entire Article 1, the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives are not going to hold Trump accountable for shit. Haven't, not going to do it today. And while he's still in office, that isn't going to happen. We will be victorious in the midterm elections. To what degree, we'll find out. We can do hearings, but taking him out, figuratively, is, without the cooperation of the Republican Party, it's a big ask. Right? So what are we left with? The ICC has more of a fever dream quality to it, because you need to have custody, and the ICC only prosecutes a very discrete list of crimes. Crimes against humanity and genocide. That's about it. Right? Is authorizing the shooting of innocent or not innocent men hanging onto the side of boats in the Caribbean and double tapping them a war crime? I'm going to vote yes every single day because it fits my freaking narrative. How's that? That is one of the only tools we have for accountability, to punish people that commit what I would consider, and hopefully the ICC does, war crimes. Now, are you convicting in absentia? Because they don't have the enforcement mechanism in the ICC. They don't have their own Praetorian Guard. They're not flying into DC and locking Trump up, right? They can grab people in transit, and the people that they have the warrants out for are Vladimir Putin, Bibi Netanyahu, and a bunch of and 27 dudes from Sudan and some other places. So, is it a fever dream that will not be realized? Probably, most probably. But a boy can dream. So I keep focused on that as an outside option, and it's just something that brings delight and diversion when the fascists are doing their crazy shit. And so, as I was writing yesterday, thinking about a quad, like a college dorm, a quad meaning like a 4-bed apartment unit in The Hague under the ICC. And of course, who would be the best? You think about Paulie cooking while in prison in Bronx Tale, maybe was that Bronx Tale? Yeah, wherever. You know, you got to slice the garlic really thin and let it soften in the olive oil, and then you add the pep. Maybe that's a little Godfather transmogrified with Bronx Tale. Outstanding movie. Outstanding movie. Chaz Palminteri. Or Goodfellas. All of those. They're magnificent, right? So maybe I'm just mixing those up. But if I'm thinking about 4 guys sitting around a table serving out a sentence together in The Hague, it would have to be Trump, Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin, and Jair Bolsonaro from Brazil. He's making his son his son's commuting to Washington trying to figure out a way to get his father out of prison. And the way that his father probably will get out of prison is that Lula will lose an election and that a conservative will go in and somebody will pardon him, which could happen. And it's just the way it goes. Brazil, if you're a student of Brazilian politics over the decades, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's fun. A lot of excitement. A lot of drama. A lot of interesting parties. Lula is a recurring character in Brazilian politics, and he's wonderful. He is a personality unmatched in that part of the world, except for Hugo Chavez, arguably. So just think about those 4 characters sitting around the dinner table, figuring out what they're going to do, who's getting mail from whom. Is Ghislaine Maxwell sending mail to all 4 of them? Are they getting jealous if she's only sending mail? Are there any pictures? The things you think about when 4 guys are sitting around a table and you're tired of playing pinochle. The little game that Pamela Jo Bondi played was she is trying to play a game at the Department of Justice where state bar, as attorneys are regulated by the state bars where they, you sit for a bar exam, you become a member of a bar in the state of X. And you are regulated by those institutions. And what she wants to do is she's trying to get not a law, but she has put forth a proposal that says that the Department of Justice is entitled to demands to have first shot if any attorney that has worked for the Trump administration or is currently working for the Trump administration, before any state bar takes any disciplinary action against that individual, then the Department of Justice reserves the right to investigate first. And she says this is not to the exclusion of the right of the individual state bar association, but we get first shot. So that little game, what that means is we're investigating, we'll get back to you, right? So they run out the clock. Or some other game that I haven't even thought through yet. And she threw in a little spicy attachment on the end of that, which is, and if you don't let us do it, we're going to do something to you, right? The implication being that we're going to take a whack at the state bar organizations or the states themselves, put pressure on the governor to make him put pressure on the bar association, however that plays out. But they're trying to control that so they can say they're having a hard time getting good talent, right? Lindsay Halligan and the rest of the cast of characters. They're not good lawyers. They're not experienced, and they don't know what they're doing. And there are fewer of them because they've hollowed out the Department of Justice. So what they want to be able to do when they're hiring is say, either plainly or by implication, that you got nothing to worry about. And that's very important when we're getting into the midterm elections, because they're going to need to rely on a lot of attorneys to do some really shady shit on repeat. And if you're a young attorney or an old attorney, are you going to risk your forever likelihood for $1.25 a year for a fucking game show host if you don't have cover? Probably not. And that's why many people have left. You've seen many prosecutors, many employees of attorneys general offices in various places. So that is telling them that they will have a hard time retaining talent unless they can give certain guarantees. Now, the pardon power is great. I was trying to work through this afternoon. Is there something that, say, Congress could do, or the individual states could do, that the Trump's pardon power does not extend to state crimes, federal crimes it does, but is there something that a Democratic Congress could do that says, for instance, even if you're pardoned by the President of the United States for this category of crime, you're not eligible to do X, Y, and Z, anything north of cleaning toilets. Have a nice life. I joke. But, is there some way? Now, obviously there are constitutional issues. You're impinging on the constitutional right that the president has, even any president has, fuck what, some idiot or otherwise, has a constitutional right to issue pardons. So, the timeline, ex post facto, how do you get that done? How do you introduce something that might be seen as limiting his right? And we know how well he takes that. Not a grievance ever. So that would be something that's litigated. I was just trying to figure out a way to get that done, and I no answers yet. But I'm, because this is kind of like the ICC. Donald Trump has directed his people in his government and people outside of government to assail the judges in the ICC and say, oh no, and by the way, judge from Belgium, currently presiding over the ICC, we're canceling your credit cards, and also you're not invited to travel to the United States ever. How's that? So he's kneecapping the ICC in a way. So we have to talk to our European brothers and sisters and figure out a way to strengthen that mechanism. So we can't give everybody fuck you money. We can't endow $1 million chairs at the ICC, but we can do something. We can say we got your back, because that's the only organization that can't be touched by, like, the U.S. Supreme Court and the Congress of the United States. Trump can threaten, and he will sanction people, and he'll do it even if it's outside of his remit, because that's the kind of guy he is. So, in any case, it's getting a little bit chilly and blowing a bit, and we'll do it all over again sometime tomorrow. It's a clear and beautiful night with wind picking up, and I think kind of has that feel that we're in the 20s right now. And wish you good luck in whoever your pick is in the Oscars. I hope you are pleased. That's not my thing, but I'll wait to read your reporting in Substack on who should win and why, and who was effed and why, and why the Academy, if that's what they call it, is who is it? It's the guy that's the former head of the Hasty Pudding or the Lampoon. I'm blanking. The head is that's the host is the former late night show competitor that didn't get Tonight Show, and Conan O'Brien. How about that? Sorry, it's cold out. I think my brain slowed down. So that's the host, and he's funny. He's clever. He's smart. So enjoy, and we'll do it all over again sometime tomorrow. Thank you for your time, and kindly do the restack and whatever you can do to help me get this whatever this thing is around a little bit. And thanks for your time. Have a great night.